Bob, we're rolling. Anytime you want to go.
There's a lot to be said for that practical experience. Okay, we're all set?
Yep.
We'll just chat back and forth for a few questions.
All right, no problem.
No big deal. Welcome to the 2008 Skip Barber Karting Scholarship Shootout at Sebring, Florida. I'm Bob Varsha with Darrick Antell from Connecticut. Darrick, first of all, how does a guy from a racing mecca like Connecticut get hooked up with the Skip Barber folks?
Well, I mean, I wouldn't exactly call Connecticut a racing mecca, although there are some people who are into sports car racing there and, you know, will occasionally do some club racing at Lime Rock or SCCA. I've actually been somewhat criticized for being the unusual guy, basically, from being from Greenwich and some background like that, and actually getting into racing when a lot of my friends are doing other things, you know, playing traditional sports, baseball, lacrosse. So it's been unusual, but it's definitely something I'm passionate about and interested in pursuing for a long time.
So how long have you been doing this, beginning with karts?
I started when I was about, I'd say, 11 years old in karts. I actually bought my first go-kart just from saving up my own money for many years and convincing my parents repeatedly. And even before that, ever since I was probably 5 or 6 years old, I was interested in racing and cars and just something I've always been interested in. And only recently have I really gotten into the full-size cars with the Skip Barber program and really been able to make something of it. And I'm interested in continuing, I think, for probably the rest of my life.
What's the biggest challenge in going from a racing kart to a full-size car?
Well, their cars are definitely different from the karts. People say that they handle pretty similarly, but I don't buy it. I've noticed that the cars being a lot heavier, especially the Skip Barber cars, have a tendency to lose grip very quickly once you start sliding. Karts, you can obviously go around corners, throw it sideways, and be as aggressive as you want with it. In a kart, I really feel like I'm never completely out of control until I'm backwards in the wall. With a car, you know, it's not quite so easy.
You mentioned those friends who go off and play lacrosse or other sports. When they ask you what it is about racing and driving cars that attracts you so much, what do you tell them?
Well, I tell them that, you know, I find it hard to believe that anyone could actually not be interested in racing, being the way I am. And, you know, it seems like kind of every young boy's dream to, you know, go to the races and just drive fast and feel the, you know, the adrenaline rush and not just that, but, you know, being involved in a sport where it's really technically demanding and it's almost a sport where you can never really win. You're always just challenging yourself. And I've noticed that some of the other sports I've actually done in my lifetime also, like crew being an example. I was on the rowing team at my old high school, and golf, which is kind of seems like the parallel opposite, you know, from racing. They're all sports where you're really challenging just yourself, and it's really a mental game, and it's very technically demanding, and there's never really perfection that you can achieve.
You chose your college major based on your interest in cars, I take it?
Definitely. I think that mechanical engineering will give me a good background and good technical knowledge that I can apply to my racing. And so far, what I've really been looking at are things like the tire technology, and obviously, you know, like managing the tires is one of the crucial technical aspects that a driver has to really, you know, be good at. And I've just been trying to read up on that. And being on the Formula SAE team, obviously at Cornell, I have free access to all of their technical papers, so I can really look at that stuff and see if I can gain kind of a better knowledge that I can apply to the track and take those skills and use just that little extra knowledge to gain an edge on the competition. You
say your parents weren't crazy about the idea when you first started karting. Have they adjusted, or are they still a little concerned about your career as a professional driver?
I think they're starting to take me a little more seriously now. At first, obviously, I was one of those kids who was kind of into a lot of different things and went through some phases. But when I found racing, I realized this is what I really want to do for the rest of my life. And obviously, my parents had some trouble adjusting to that fact at first, but I think they started to realize it now. But I really dragged them into it, so because they had really no knowledge of it or interest in it before I discovered it on my own.
How important is competing in the national series in terms of your plans for your future development as a racing driver?
I would say it's very important at the moment, if not number one. The national series, as far as America goes, is probably the top junior series in the country. I would say that basically any good American professional driver has come out of Skip Barber in some way or another, and I think the National Series in general is just a great breeding ground for successful drivers. I'm planning on at some point when I'm older, you know, maybe going over to Europe and trying to get involved in some of their series, because I understand that competition is sometimes a little more intense and it's a little bit difficult to adjust. But ultimately, I want to try to get involved in some of the higher formulae, like Formula One, for example, is obviously a goal of many young